What's going on, y'all? It's your man Pristine back with another video. Welcome to the full Pristine review for the Sony Xperia XA1. Now, really quickly before we get into it, let me just read off the specs really quickly. All right, we've got a 5-inch Full HD 720p display. That's 720 by 1280 pixels, IPS LCD. We've got 32 gigs of onboard storage, 3 gigs of RAM. We are running Android 7.0 fresh out of the box. We've got a 294 pixel density PPI. We've got a MediaTek Helio P20 processor. We've got a Mali T88 OMP2 GPU. We do have a micro SD card slot that expands memory up to 256 gigs. We do have NFC present on this device. Now, the rear camera is a 23 megapixel shooter, f2.0 aperture, and my understanding is that it is the same 23 megapixel that was on last year's XZ model, which is Sony's premium flagship device. We've got an 8 megapixel selfie cam, which is also f2.0 aperture. We do have a Type-C connector that does support quick charge, or Sony's quick charge technology is Pump Express Plus 2.0. We've got a 2300 milliamp hour non-removable battery. And that is pretty much it for the spec sheet. Now, again, I know that some of you guys may gripe over the fact that this phone is a 720p display, but take a look at this display, okay? Now, look, I'm just gonna scroll down. You'll see the brightness. We are at 50% brightness, okay? I chose this wallpaper just because, I mean, it's really a beautiful wallpaper, and you'll see as I scroll through the device just how the wallpaper just kind of flows with the apps as they're being scrolled. Okay, this 720p display is absolutely gorgeous. I can't tell the difference, between whether or not this is 720 or 1080. And if I didn't have the information, that was provided on the box, and obviously several other sources when you pull up this phone's specs telling me that it was a 720p display, I wouldn't know the difference. A lot of people that are not reviewers or that are not really tech savvy with these types of things, when they see this phone, they already are under the assumption that it is either a 1080p display or a quad HD display. This is how beautiful this display looks on this phone. I can't stress it enough. Looking at it through the lens of this G6 does not do it justice. This is a display that you would actually have to hold in your hand and see it with your own eyes. It's an absolute gorgeous panel. So please don't let the fact that this is a 720 display discourage you from getting your hands on this device. Now, there may be some other things about it that may discourage you from picking it up, but the screen, I wouldn't don't let the screen, be the tail of the tape. You know what I mean? Unless you're just that picky and you feel like you need a full HD 1080p panel. Now, with that said, this is the XA. The XA Ultra is going to be dropping any day now. Sony, they're toying with this. I know that the XZ Premium, it's out. I can pre-order it, and matter of fact, I've got it on pre-order. I'm supposed to be getting that on Saturday, so stay tuned because I'm gonna have the unboxing for the XZ Premium. That's the big boy. That's Sony's, flagship device. We're talking about everything. I mean, Snapdragon 835 processor. This is supposedly the first phone to have a 4K display with HDR, slow motion video, with the camera, beast of a camera. They're directly going at, Samsung and, HTC, all the other flagship devices, that have the 835 processor and the high-end specs. I haven't really had too many Sony phones, but after having this one, I was just like, oh my goodness, man, I am really enjoying this phone. Okay, now that's just me personally. Everybody's experience with a device is going to be different, but me personally, I love this little device. So yeah, so now the XA Ultra, that's going to have a full high definition 1080p display. Seeing the two side by side, honestly, I can't really tell the difference. But yeah, so don't want to spend too much time on the display, but I do want to put it out there that, hey, it is a 720 display, but as you can see, I mean, it is absolutely gorgeous. Now, the build quality. I like the build quality of this device. It is, I believe this is Corning Gorilla Glass 3 or 4 on the front. I like the buttons. When you scroll around to the right of the device, I like the fact that it's got, its own dedicated camera shutter button. That's a Sony thing. And just the button placement. I like the fact that all the buttons are on the right side of the device. You can see the little silver button right there. That's obviously the power and the sleep and wake button. You've got the volume rockers that sit right above that. Top of the device, you got a noise canceling mic. We do have a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack at the top. I do kind of wish that was placed at the bottom, but hey, it is present. You know what I mean? So you definitely do have that option to plug in your devices. You can see the bottom of the phone. We've got the Type-C connector, Type-C 2.0, and we've got the bottom firing speaker. Now, here's one thing that I'm still kind of baffled at. When you take a look at the phone and you look up top and you see the little receiver slit right here at the top, okay? And then you turn the phone upside down and you look at the bottom and there's another slit. You know what I mean? It's like, Sony, man, don't piss on our feet and tell us it's raining, yo. You know what I'm saying? I mean, when I saw that, I was like, oh yeah, dual front facing speakers. Guess what? It's not dual front facing speakers. It's just pretty much for show, for looks. Unless there's, some way to, something that you can tap into to turn that other speaker on, if in fact it is a speaker. But I mean, it looks like it is a speaker. I mean, if you look, you can barely see inside of the receiver right here, and you can see like these little it looks like like these little metal covers that you would normally see over speakers. They're very tiny. I mean, it looks exactly like that on this one down here. So it's like, there is a slit there, and it appears as though it's a speaker because it's identical to the actual receiver, but yet it does nothing. It's like what a disappointment, Sony. It's like way to get us, way to get us hot and get us hot and heavy, and then just turn us off. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they toying with us, man. It's like, why even do that? But they do have the rear, not the rear, but the bottom firing speaker that does produce some very, very rich sound, big sound coming from this small device. I mean, this phone is very narrow. As you can see, compared to the Asus Zenfone 3 Zoom, this is a 5-inch display. The Asus here is a 5.5. But you can look at just how narrow it is, when you, let's see if you guys can see that. So obviously, the Asus is a little wider, but so moving around to the back of the device, it's a matte finish. It's said that it's plastic, but it's durable. It's not like a soft plastic. Now, when you press on it, I mean, it does give just a little bit, but not enough to where the phone is like flimsy or feels like the phone's going to break or anything like that. But you can just tap it right here and barely push in, and you'll notice that you can see, like, I don't know if you guys can see my finger kind of going in, but that's not a big deal. I mean, me personally, I mean, I think the build quality for this particular device is solid. I love the fact that, the edges are squared. It just really gives it its own distinct look and feel. Obviously, I've got small hands. It's very easy for me to wrap my hands around this device. It's not a problem. Okay. Now, let me unlock the device. Now, the other thing that kind of sucks about this phone, again, Sony, it's 2017. You got to put a fingerprint sensor on your mid-rangers. This is considered a mid-range device. And there's no fingerprint sensor. And it's also that way on the Ultra as well. The Ultra is a 6-inch, same phone, but this is 5 inches. The Ultra is 6 inches. This is an 8 megapixel sensor. The Ultra has a 16 megapixel selfie camera. This has 3 gigs of RAM. The Ultra has 4 gigs of RAM. This is a 720p display. The Ultra has a 1080p display. This has a 2300 milliamp hour battery. The Ultra has a 2700 milliamp hour battery. But neither one of them have fingerprints. You know, the only one that you're going to find the fingerprint sensor on is the XZ Premium, which is Sony's flagship phone. You know, that's got a $799 price tag on it. You know, with tax, I did the calculation yesterday. With tax, you're going to be paying $879.68 for the premium. You know, so if you want the new Sony phone that has everything, all the bells and whistles, man, you're going to have to pay that $799 price tag. I mean, so it sucks that, you know, as good as these mid-rangers are, they didn't implement the fingerprint sensor, you know, so that's a disappointment, man. You know, it really is, in my opinion. As good as this phone is, it should have a fingerprint sensor. You know, we should be able to secure our device with a fingerprint sensor with this particular installment. But we don't. But again, performance has been very solid. You know, this phone can get a little laggy at times, but I mean, it's very minimal lag. It's not like lag that is just like frustrating or that is going to completely turn you off to the phone to where you're just going to want to throw it in the ditch and not bother with it anymore. You know, that hasn't been my experience, you know, but I do notice that with certain things that I'm doing, it tends to stutter slightly, or, you know, you can kind of see if I'm like scrolling through quickly. Well, you can't really see it right there. I mean, it performs quite well. I just noticed it's very faint stuttering. It's nothing that is just very obvious, like, oh my God, did you see that? You know what I mean? It's very minor little stutters here and there. But aside from that, I mean, the performance, in my opinion, is solid. It's spot on. Definitely this phone is going to do pretty much what your average consumer is going to want and need it to do. I mean, you know, just an average person, day-to-day usage, this phone is going to get the job done, and it's going to do the job very well. So let's see. I'm not connected to my Wi-Fi, so yeah, I'm on my 4G here. T-Mobile, okay. Chrome. Boom. Just opening up some stuff. Gmail. Boom. Okay. Maps. Boom. Drive for documents. Boom. You see, I mean, so this, you know, this Helio P20, I mean, it's a beast. I mean, now I'm not connected to Wi-Fi right now. You know, I'm on 4G LTE connectivity through T-Mobile. Okay. And you see how quickly it's just opening up these apps. Okay. Google Docs. Boom. Okay. Google Sheets. Boom. All right. Slides. Boom. Google Home. Boom. All right. Gboard. You know, if you want to customize your keyboard with the Google keyboard, boom, you can do that. Okay. Bible app. Okay. Let's start, you know, getting into some, you know, some more content heavy apps just to see, you know, how quickly it opens that up. You guys go ahead and pause that and get that word. You already know how I feel about that. Okay. Where's Dropbox at? You know, Dropbox has, man, boom, just rips through Dropbox, opens it up instantly. Okay. Let's see. Where's my security camera? Canary. Boom, just opens up Canary quickly. Let's see. What else? What else has a lot of content in it that I can pop open? And you can see we do have an app drawer right here on the bottom. So, you know, for that, now you see there was a little stutter right there. You know, I don't know if you guys caught that. Well, let's see. Spotify. Big file. Got a lot of music in Spotify. Okay. Boom. You see right there, you know, it took a few seconds longer to open up Spotify, you know, but it still opened it up relatively quickly. Okay. I mean, this phone, it just performs, man. You know, it's not bad at all whatsoever. Okay. Now, you'll see when we go to recents, okay? No lag, no stutter. Just quickly whiffing through a lot of these apps that are open. Okay, let's go back to Gmail real quick, see if it has to reload the app. Nope, pops it right open. Let's see, go to home. Play movies. Okay, so it had to reopen that real quick. Still didn't take too long. But you guys get the idea, so, performance for this phone, solid, in my personal opinion. Now, moving along to the cameras. Again, we've got a 23 megapixel shooter on the rear. Okay. Which is right here. We've got our LED flash. And we've got an 8 megapixel shooter right here for the selfie camera. All right. Let's go ahead and close out all those apps. Now, I was able to capture some video samples and some still shot samples. So I'll go ahead and get into those right now, and then I'll be right back with you guys in a minute. All right. What's going on, y'all? This your man Pristine, back with another quick video. Now, I want to give you guys a quick sample of the front-facing camera on the Sony XA1. Now, this is an 8 megapixel shooter. Okay, as I mentioned, there is the XA1 Ultra. Now, that selfie cam is a 16 megapixel shooter. Okay, so look for that on the channel as well. I'll definitely have that on the channel here shortly. But this looks pretty good. You know what I mean? This will definitely do the job. It's a bright sunny day here in Seattle. I'm just leaving the park from shooting the sample video that I just did with the rear-facing camera. I'm driving, so I wouldn't recommend this. You guys be safe when you're driving. Keep your eyes on the road. But this looks pretty good. It's not a bad shooter at all whatsoever. Sony's always been pretty known for their camera quality on their devices. They've had some really good cameras. So yeah, again, I mean, just not as many options as there is on the rear-facing camera, but there are, some. You've got a variation of options that you can do to customize the image, so that you can get that video quality that you want or close to it. Or if you're just taking selfies, still shot selfies, there's a beautification mode. There's tons of different other modes that you can manually customize to get that shot that you're looking for, or to get that video quality that you're looking for. No, I don't believe that this camera records in 4K or anything like that. I believe it just records in full 1080p at 30 frames per second, which that's not bad. Pretty standard. You at least with that setting, you're going to get some pretty decent video quality here. So again, just want to do just a quick video, real quick. Actually, hope let me pull over real quick. Let me pull over because I want to take a walk real quick with the phone in hand, just to kind of give you guys an idea of what it's looking like. Okay, 1 second. Okay, y'all, so now I'm getting out the car. So now I'm walking with the phone, so we're just kind of checking out. Again, the phone does not have optical image stabilization, but just want to give you guys an idea, if you're recording with the selfie camera, what it's going to look like while you're actually walking around. Okay, so I mean, considering the fact that it doesn't have optical image stabilization, it's just going to come down to whether or not you've got a steady hand. Me personally, I tend to have a steady hand. I don't really have really shaky hands, when I'm holding devices or anything like that. So that works out. But I mean, if you're walking around and you've got shaky hands, your video, it may look okay, but it may be kind of shaky. You know what I mean? So this is what the selfie cam looks like while you're recording. It's an 8 megapixel shooter. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I'll holler back at you guys soon. Peace. What's up, y'all? This your man Pristine. So this is some video footage that I'm capturing with the Sony Xperia XA1. Now, there's two versions of this phone. This particular version that I'm recording with is the 5-inch version, and then there's the XA1 Ultra, which is a 6-inch version. Differences being the 5-inch that I'm on right now, of course, it's a 5-inch display. Helio P20 processor, 3 gigs of RAM. It's got a 23 megapixel rear facing camera and an 8 megapixel front facing shooter. Now the Ultra, it's got a little bit of a bigger battery. This one has a 2300 milliamp hour battery. Now the screen is 720p, so it's not powering a powerhouse screen, so that's why the battery is so small, but it's an efficient battery. And it'll definitely get you through a full day. Now the Ultra, it's got a 2700 milliamp hour battery because that screen is it's a full 1080p display. Same cameras on that one, except the selfie camera on the Ultra is a 16 megapixel as opposed to the 8 megapixels that's on the XA1 here, which is the smaller version. So I'm at the park again. I'm walking along the park. Now this phone does not have optical image stabilization, but you can see as I'm walking along, I don't really have really shaky hands, and so that definitely pays dividends when you're trying to record video and hold the phone steady. But as you can see, I mean, the picture quality looks amazing. Again, it's not the G6. You don't have the wide angle the wide angle option. I've gotten so accustomed to that option. I have to stop expecting for other phones to have that particular option. But this is definitely a good camera. I mean, colors, they look true to life. I mean, like if you take a look at the grass and just look at the detail of the grass here. This little neighborhood that I'm in, there's the Pristine Mobile over there. There's my son Isaiah. You guys take a look at the bark and just see how detailed the bark is if you want to zoom in on that. Again, just taking a look at the Seahawk color painted big toy for the little kids. Isaiah, come say what's up to YouTube. Huh? Say what's going on, YouTube. Okay. No, dude, come on. Really gotta go. Dude, I'm recording. Really? I'm serious. Act like you got some home training, man. Come on, we'll get out of here in a second. We'll wrap this up. Okay, so, yeah, and this is just manual mode. I mean, there's tons of different still shot and video recording options for you to get that image, that you want and desire. But I just wanted to give you guys just a quick camera sample of the Sony Xperia XA1. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comments, and I'll holler back at you. All right. Peace, y'all. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video footage, the still shot footage. The cameras on this phone are extremely solid, in my opinion. Sony has always been pretty much known for their camera quality technology. There's a lot of Sony products that have really, really good cameras, and they produce really, really good video quality and still shot photos. I mean, so you're not going to go wrong with this particular device here with the Xperia XA1. Now, moving along to the battery. Now, I know a lot of people are going to question this. The battery life, it's a 2300 milliamp hour battery, which, you would say that's nothing. Like, it's like, how could anybody get through, a full day with 2300 milliamps? And again, with this particular device, I mean, it really is just going to boil down to what you're doing. Okay. Now I don't want to make it seem as though this battery doesn't have any staying power. Excuse me, because it does. Again, it just depends on what you're doing. Now, like somebody like me, again, I consider myself to be a moderate user. I talk, I text, auto sync for emails and all that kind of stuff is always turned off. Bluetooth is always turned off if I'm not using it. Wi-Fi is always turned off if I'm not using it. GPS is always turned off if I'm not using it. These are all things that can just completely fry your battery, along with just heavy usage, with the device itself, whether you're browsing apps or, streaming video content, whatever you're doing. So for one, I just make sure that I'm optimizing, battery the way that I know how naturally, which is by just turning all those things that I'm not using off. And that definitely helps. I keep my screen brightness turned down to 50%. Even if I do, even when I, on my Samsung devices, the S8 and the S8 Plus, that's a quad HD display, and I understand a lot of people, they want that, they want to rock that max brightness, but that fries your battery, you know what I mean? So, I always turn my brightness down, to 50%. And, some of these panels, some of them, they just get too damn bright. Some of you guys may not feel as though there's such a thing, but in my opinion, like this is cool. Like, this is at 50%, and just look at this screen. It's extremely beautiful. It's gorgeous. It doesn't need to be any brighter than this. But again, if I want to make it brighter, I can make it brighter. But it doesn't, I don't need it on maximum brightness. You know what I mean? To me, max brightness is just too bright. And I'm going to end up turning it down anyway. But turning it down also helps the battery longevity. So with all that said, I can easily get through a day with this device. Okay. If I'm, some of the things that I mentioned that I typically do on my phones, if I'm doing more of those things, if I'm doing those things more so toward the heavy side as opposed to moderate, then of course, it's going to drain a little bit more of the battery. And, you may end up having to, charge your battery toward the end of your day, or at the end of the night, charge it overnight, while you're sleeping. I definitely think that this phone is one of those, put it on the charger, when you go to bed at night, wake up to a fresh, 100% battery, depending on what you're doing. Now if you're just doing very light talking and texting, maybe a little video streaming here and there, you probably can get away with, maybe a day and a half or so if you're not really doing much. You know what I mean? There's been some times, like I mentioned in other videos, sometimes I'm just hella busy and I just, my phone is on my desk and I barely use it, or I just, only respond when people call me or send me text messages. So there are some days where my phone barely gets touched. And on a day like that, when I'm not really interacting much with my device, then yeah, I can take it off the charger, at 100% in the morning and, wait hours later, or toward the evening, I still would be, in the 90 percentile, as far as battery life, because I haven't really done much with it. You know what I mean? So again, it just, with anybody, with any battery, it just depends on what you're doing, with your phone. But if you're a light or moderate user, the 2300 milliamps is going to suit you just fine. If you're a more moderate to heavy user, you might want to keep your charger on you. You know what I mean? Because the battery is non-removable. So you can't take it out and swap it for another one. So you may want to take, take that charger with you, or, get yourself a car charger, if you're traveling around, but you're always on your phone. But just some means to give your phone some additional juice if need be. Okay. Now, additional features. I found that you do have the double tap to put the phone to sleep, but you cannot double tap to wake the device, which I think is kind of sucky because, there is no fingerprint sensor. So, that'd be nice to have a fingerprint sensor that, either you can just on the back or in the front. That's another thing I can't really understand. We've got the borderless edges, from left to right. That's beautiful. But you see, we got the big forehead and the big chin down here. It's like Sony. It's like, how come they couldn't implement a fingerprint sensor on the front down here on the bottom? Or like what they did with the XZ Premium, they put the fingerprint sensor right here, and so on the XZ Premium, the power button, it's a long button. It's not circular like this. It's like a rectangular shaped button. And as your thumb is on it, when you push it, then it reads your fingerprint and it opens the device. You know what I mean? I can't understand how they couldn't do something like that. So I feel like another issue that I have with this device is as gorgeous as I think it is, it's just a waste of space. You know what I mean? I'm actually, as you guys can see, I'm salty over this no fingerprint sensor, man. All my phones have fingerprint sensors. You know what I mean? This reminds me of some shit back in the day, you know, before fingerprint sensors started becoming a thing, you know, but now that it's a thing, it's like, man, how can you put out a phone without a fingerprint sensor in 2017? You know, I mean, unless it's just like a real deal entry level device. But I mean, this is your mid-ranger. This phone costs $299. This phone is $300. So plus taxes, I mean, you're going to be paying like, you know, maybe $340, $350 and some change. I mean, man, when you're in that mid-range, you know, when you're floating around in that mid-range, you know, area, man, you got to have a fingerprint sensor, man. I can't really think of a mid-ranger right now that does not have a fingerprint sensor, you know. So I'm bothered by the fact that this phone does not have a fingerprint sensor, but I still really enjoy the device, obviously. I mean, so, you know, the fingerprint sensor, it's not a determining factor, but it still should be present on this and the XA1 Ultra. So I think that it's a little bit of waste of space right there. Now, let me go ahead and unlock the device. All right, now, when you long press, you go into your settings here, you know, here's some additional settings for your home screen. And so, you know, you can change the pane transitions to, you know, flat, flow, concave, convex, and windmill, which is windmill is what I've got it on. Just, you know, little things, you know, that you can, you know, kind of tweak your phone and just really make it your own. You know what I mean? Just not having your phone just look like, you know, everybody else's phone or function just like everybody else's phone functions. I mean, a lot of people, they don't care about a lot of this stuff. But me personally, I do. I really like to personalize my devices and just really make them my own, you know, from the themes to the wallpapers, just to different things that I'm able to customize. You know what I mean? So, you know, I can appreciate the fact that, you know, they implemented this. You know, they got, you know, when you swipe to the right, they got Google Now right there, you know, so all your Google Now information, you know, which this is extremely helpful to me. You know, I just have a lot of stuff. I get a lot of information about up and coming phones or news about phones that are important or vital, you know, that I'm going to need to know. I get a lot of that stuff here, you know, so Google Now is extremely helpful, but you can turn it off. You know, I mean, if you feel it's too intrusive or whatnot, you can turn that off. Now, again, as I mentioned, we do have an app drawer. From what I've seen no way that you can disable the app drawer. I know a lot of you guys may be, you know, fans of that. You know, me personally, I mean, I've gotten so used to not having app drawers, so I would like to turn it off, but it's not really a big deal. You don't have to use it. But yeah, no, I mean, this phone it's very close to a stock Android experience. There's not a lot of Sony bloatware. There's not a lot of features. You know what I mean? It's just a pretty straightforward Sony device. Again, as I mentioned, there is NFC. I mean, so if you use Android Pay, you are going to be able to use, you know, take advantage of that technology. But again, you know, now there is some Sony bloatware, but not a whole lot. You know, you got themes and different Sony wallpapers, or, you know, customizable wallpapers. But I mean, aside from that, again, you know, swipe down, typical Android 7.0 stuff. You know, your quick toggles here can be customized. Yeah, not a lot of additional features. So, you know, my final thoughts for this particular device, it's a solid device, you know, in my opinion. You know, if you're into a smaller form factor, you know, you don't want something that's really heavy, something that's nice and lightweight. You've got the borderless edge display right there. Beautiful 720 display, good, decent cameras on the front and back that are definitely going to do the job, as you guys witnessed in the video samples and the still shot samples that I provided for you. And you don't want to break the bank. I would definitely give this phone a look, but just know that you're getting yourself into a situation where you're not going to have a fingerprint sensor. And, you know, I don't know how important that is to you. To some people, maybe it's not important at all. But to somebody like me, I mean, I don't want to say it's a determining factor, but it is important. You know, not a whole lot of features, not a whole lot of bloatware, you know, just pretty much a straight up, you know, stock Android experience, 7.0 fresh out of the box, obviously with Sony's skin on top. Yeah, I mean, my personal opinion, it's a solid phone. It's a solid phone. You know, just for the things that it does. You know, it's a good performer. Very minimal lag. You know, there is some lag there, but it's not. It's not too much. You know what I mean? You know, very good front-facing camera, 8 megapixel. Very good rear-facing camera, 23 megapixels. Takes some awesome photos, awesome video. I would definitely give this phone a nod. You know, I'd give it the go. It's sitting comfortably at the $299 price tag. You know, the phone is relatively new, so, you know, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to get it for lower unless you maybe find like a refurbished or an open box item. But you know, it is pretty stiff competition in the mid-range device, or it's just in the mid-range lane, which is what this phone is in. Because this phone is $299, you can go get an LG G5 right now for $299. You know what I mean? And, you know, again, you know, this phone, you know, it's got the Helio P20 processor, which, as I exhibited in the video, it's a pretty snappy processor. But I mean, like I said, right now, you can go get an LG G5 right now, and you've got yourself 4 gigs of RAM, a Snapdragon 820 processor, 32 gigs of onboard storage, which you can expand it up to 2 terabytes or 256 gigs. You know, you've got, you know, the wide angle lens camera that, you know, I think that the G5 cameras are a little better than the cameras that are on this particular device. Not to say that the cameras are bad on this device, but I'm just, you know, in comparison, you know, this is $299. You can get the G5 right now for $299, and you can also get other devices, you know, that are mid-range phones that have really good specs, really good cameras, that do have fingerprint sensors and other features and functionality that may not be in this particular package here. So just something to consider. You know what I mean? I do think that this phone is worth giving it a look. You know, I'm enjoying it. I think that you guys would enjoy it as well. So yeah, that's all I've got right now for the Sony Xperia XA1. All right. If you like this video, if you found it informative to any capacity, please like, share the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, to expose yourself to a whole slew of videos that I've done, and stay tuned for much more video content to come on some of your hottest devices. All right. So in the meantime, you guys already know, man, please stay safe, stay blessed. It's never too late to get spiritually fit. It's never too late to get your life right with God. He's always ready to start over. Okay. Definitely stay pristine in every facet of your life. Rest in peace, Prodigy from Mobb Deep, man. You know what I'm saying? Peace, y'all. Catch y'all in the next video.